Good evening and welcome to Be Informed. My name is Carl Buhariwala and I founded Be Informed to help people make good decisions. Today our session will cover professional development and we are joined by Christine Long of Anew Mind and Body Solutions, who will take us through a seminar on procrastination to decisive action. So today's session is being recorded and is being hosted in Australia. All information presented to you today is of general information purposes only. If you do have any specific queries related to your circumstances, please do engage with a professional like Christine, who can support you on your journey. The information in today's seminar is current as of the 8th of July, so you may wish to reconsider the future applicability of any information that you hear today and ensure that it's suitable for your purposes. From a housekeeping perspective, the session is being recorded, so if you do have to drop off or come back in, that's perfectly fine. You can watch the entire session on our YouTube channel following the closure of today's session. There's also a one-page handout which Christine has kindly prepared, and I'll share that with registered participants. Also following the session, if you have any questions that you would like to raise to Christine during the Q&A part of today's session, email them, send them through to me in the chat function, and I will then relay them through to Christine for her to answer during that part of the session. So today's session will run with the seminar starting off at the beginning, running for about 25-30 minutes, and then we will head into Q&A, and then we should wrap up by about 7 o'clock today, Melbourne time. All right, so without any further delay, and Christine's online now, we'll head straight into the seminar. Thank you, Christine.
Okay, thank you so much, Carl, and thank you for inviting me to present this important topic. I'd also like to thank the attendees who have taken the time out this evening to learn key information regarding how to address procrastination. This topic is relevant when you feel stuck and you can't seem to move forward in the direction that provides the path and outcomes you're after. Or maybe you're not able to get clear about the path or outcomes you would like. We want to unlock your power so you can enjoy resilience, confidence, and you feel empowered to take action. Please have a decent sized notepad and pen handy. We'll be doing a deactivation process around procrastination to minimise and in many cases eliminate procrastination in an area relevant to you. You'll be actually doing the process outside of this event, but I will be taking you through the steps so you can do it in your own time. Here are some key statistics that shed light on the extent of this issue, and these are only just a few key points. It's actually quite surprising how this affects us on so many levels in our life. 20% of adults admit to being chronic procrastinators, compared to 5% in the 1970s. People spend an average of 2 hours and 25 minutes per day procrastinating for over 45 days per year. According to a recent poll, 94% of respondents said procrastination makes them unhappy. According to a study by Study Mode Student Psych Report, 48% of people consider distraction as the major reason for procrastinating. 40% of people feel it's due to being overwhelmed as the cause. However, there is a deeper reason to why this procrastination cycle continues for many, which we'll be talking about this evening. It may surprise you, a study found that procrastination is a more common problem than alcoholism, substance abuse, and depression, affecting a more significant number of people. Procrastination damages self-esteem, resulting in a lack of motivation and confidence. Chronic procrastination is linked to hypertension, heart disease, and cardiovascular illness. Procrastination can lead to a high frequency to fail to activate and maintain short-term and long-term goals. Procrastination is linked to a higher tendency to engage impulsive behaviours and a reduced ability to manage goals effectively. It also is more common among individuals with a lower threshold for tolerating negative emotions. And I could go on. There's quite a lot, but obviously this evening there's a time constraint. So this can be a serious matter. So with your notepad, the first thing I want you to do is to write down where in your life you're avoiding action and what decisions have been or that you've been delaying. Now, that will hold that there on your notepad, and I'll be running through a fair bit of information, and then we'll get to the actual process, and you'll reflect back to what you've just written. Okay, so the second slide, please, Carl. What procrastination really is? It's just poor time management? No, that is not it. It's a coping mechanism for deeper emotions. Procrastination is a protective mechanism and usually rooted in fear or anger. Sorry, I've just lost my spot. Fear or anger, often unconscious and usually unconscious. The brain and nervous system are wired to avoid discomfort and danger. When you procrastinate, it is typically because something about the task or decision triggers you or signals unconscious fear, anger, or internal conflict. Next slide, please, Carl. The hidden root cause. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's protection. Rooted in conscious and unconscious fear, your brain and nervous system avoid discomfort and perceived danger. The cause of fear is usually rooted in the past and not recognised as such. Procrastination is often how we protect ourselves. It's how we sabotage ourselves. It actually dilutes and sabotages your growth and momentum. It's emotional, not logical. Unconscious anger is often the overlay of emotion from fear. So sometimes it can present where you're agitated or volatile or angry as part of the symptoms. Internal conflict is fear being pushed aside with overthinking and rationalising due to a feeling of concern or dread about what a decisive decision will mean. It's rooted in conscious and unconscious fear. Your brain and nervous system avoid discomfort and perceived danger. This is why you can feel embarrassed, guilty, or even ashamed of not making a decision or taking action, or even just frustrated with yourself. You may hide the lack of decisions or actions with lots of excuses or rationales. And a lot of the time they can sound really, they'll make sense to you, but they're just really hiding what's really going on. Even for some, they can project certain facades or untruths about their indecisiveness and why they're doing or not doing X, Y, Z. This behaviour can compound your procrastination and cause other emotional and mindset issues around trusting yourself, which is a big one. Most people think that they're just lazy or unmotivated and label themselves as such, or others will label them that they're lazy or unmotivated. But procrastination often hides deeper emotions like anger, internal conflict. When you uncover the root, you unlock your power to act. Fear can look like, I'm not ready. Anger can sound like, why should I have to do this? Internal conflict can feel like you're letting a certain people down or not doing what you think you should. These emotions, when buried, hijack your motivation. You may be procrastinating not because you're lazy, but because your nervous system is trying to keep you safe. So What's linked to procrastination? I'm just going to read out a few examples, and I would jot down on your notepad the ones that jump out. There might be more than one, but the ones that what I would say you get a hit on. You think, oh yes, that resonates. Past punishment, shame, rejection, nervous system reactions conditioned from childhood or past stresses, deep identity conflicts. Example, you might tell yourself, if I succeed, I'll be abandoned or unsafe. Old trauma patterns associating action with danger locked in the nervous system and brain. So that's past punishment, shame, rejection, nervous system reactions, past stresses, deep identity conflicts, or old trauma patterns. So anything that jumps out, just jot it down. Now, the causes of conscious fear, the fear that you're aware of, is fear of failure. And the self-talk would be, what if I try and don't succeed? Fear of judgment, what will others think? Fear of success. If this works, will I be able to handle it? Fear of visibility, will I be exposed or criticised? Failure, fear of judgment, fear of success, fear of visibility. Which ones do you relate to? Your brain's limbic system, specifically the amygdala, I always have trouble saying that word, detects a perceived threat, even if it's just emotional discomfort, depending on the degree. And this signals to the body, avoid or react. Common behaviour patterns to be aware of would be avoidance, distraction, perfectionism, numbness. Result in action as self-protection. Rather than facing the discomfort, you delay, rationalise, shift focus to safer tasks, get caught in perfectionism or analysis paralysis. What's your behaviour? Delay, rationalise, shift focus to safer tasks, perfectionism, analysis paralysis. Procrastination becomes a coping mechanism to avoid emotional pain, not the task itself. I want to give you an analogy that I often use. There's a young child, very small, very young, at school in the classroom, and they draw a lovely little picture that they think's lovely for their teacher. Now, because they're so young, it just really looks like a little scribble on the page, and they put it on the desk as a gift for the teacher. Now, the teacher enters the classroom and isn't aware of this, and goes to a desk ready to start the class and shuffles her desk around and sees this little piece of paper with this scribble on it, screws it up and puts it in the bin. Now, the child's watched that, and because children have less filter system than we've got as adults, as an adult, we would understand what's happened there or whatever, we'd rationalise it. But for a young child, it can be like their brain is a bit like a sponge, and it goes straight into the neural pathways and into the nervous system. And they can make a decision about that they're not creative, that their work is rubbish, that they're not appreciated, they're not loved, they're not thought well of, whatever it is, that could lock into their nervous system, and they're more susceptible to it because they're very young. Now, that can then have impact in later years when they're career searching. They might be very creative, but they have lots of blocks about expressing their creativity. It's just one example, which could hinder their success in life. So that's just one very simple analogy. So the point is, it doesn't have to be this major trauma a lot of times. Sometimes it can be, which is very obvious, but sometimes it's just unfortunate situations that happen to all of us in life, and it depends on how we've processed it and how that's been locked into your nervous system. Conscious and unconscious fear towards a person, a system, a situation, or self. So reflect on which one that is for you. For a person, a system, a situation, or self. When you consciously want to do something, unconscious fear can override it by activating avoidance, numbness, distraction, self-sabotage. These buried emotions create internal resistance. This creates internal conflict and nervous system dysregulation that leads to inaction. So some physical signs of fear. I'm going to run through this fairly quickly, but this is being recorded, so you can always replay it because of the time constraints, and I want to have enough time to take you through the 8-step process. So I just want to make sure I get through as much information as I can. So physical symptoms of fear would be rising anxiety, guilt or shame, inner conflict between desire and resistance, negative talk, whether that's self-talk or negative communication, can be self-sabotage, feeling mentally drained, emotionally burdened, persistent sense of underachievement, mental clutter, and inability to focus. Now, the top triggers are fear of failure. The self-talk would be, I'm not being good enough. Perfectionism, self-talk needing things to be flawless before starting. Overwhelmed from too many tasks or unclear priorities. Lack of clarity or purpose in the task. Life changes and fear of success. Other triggers are low self-worth or feelings of not deserving success, anger or resentment towards the task, person or system, disempowering beliefs, for example, I'm not ready yet, unmet emotional needs, craving rest, attention or validation, lack of alignment, the task doesn't resonate with your values, which is often a big one. And cognitive and psychophysical symptoms would be heightened stress, which creates cortisol levels, which then has far-reaching health issues in many areas of your health, weakened immune system due to chronic pressure, sleep disruption from worry and guilt, increased anxiety and risk of depression, energy depletion from mental overwork without action, and brain fog. It can also affect our relationships really adversely, building up resentment, personal insecurities, erodes trust, creates isolation and separation. And I won't go into that due to time. So next slide, please, Carl. The top 8 return on investment saboteurs. Vague goals or vision. It's difficult to have clear goals and vision due to procrastination. If by chance you don't, in this instance, procrastination will sabotage them becoming a reality. Lost revenue due to delayed launches or missed windows of opportunity and sales windows. Decreased productivity, high effort with low output. Poor team morale and decreased trust and respect from colleagues and clients. Delayed innovation and growth stagnation. Unreliable leadership, loss of respect and poor team morale and performance results. Ineffective strategic scaling. Decisive decisions and action for strategic scaling is essential for time and cost efficiency. So the list goes on, but I want to allow time for us to cover the 8-step process. So I'll miss some of the others. It's all about your big picture goals and your dreams and your desires that can affect all of those things. And there's other business life costs as well. But and it creates really unfortunate outcomes in our personal life as well. And just that confidence. So next slide, please, Carl. So we're going to cover off a future pace methodology for internal elevation, and it's called the Elevate method. It acts as your future self would. Procrastination is the grave in which opportunity is buried, And hopefully tonight we're going to help some of you to actually move beyond this and uplift yourself out of these patterns. So here we have the first part of the Elevate method is we go through each letter. It's a step. So it's an 8-step process. So with your pen and paper, the first step is E for envision. And this is to imagine your future self 6 to 12 months from now, having taken having taken the action you're currently avoiding. So I want you to reflect on that. You won't be doing it this evening. There won't be enough time, but just jot that down. Imagine your future self 6 to 12 months from now having taken the action you're currently avoiding. So you would look at, what does your future self look like? What are you saying about your results? What's changed emotionally, financially, or energetically? So what does your future self look like? What are you saying about your results? What changed emotionally, financially, and energetically? Then you lift with the L. L's the next step, which is lift. The prompt is, what brief fear or thought is dragging you down right now? What new thought can lift you? So it's 2 steps in this one. You want a limiting belief of what's going on for you, and you want a lifting belief. Now, an example would be, I must get it perfect. So that's the limiting belief. The lifting belief would be progress over perfection. I am learning. All right, so that's just an example, but you could put your own words that you relate to it. The next step is E for embody. The prompt is, how would your future self walk, speak, breathe, or show up? So take some time to explore that. All your senses. Describe the posture, the tone, and the energy. So this is what you'd be doing in your own time through the process. And be thorough, don't rush it. E for validate. The prompt is, what past, recent, or present wins, efforts, or patterns show you are ready, that you are already growing? This is evidence that you are capable. So there will definitely be areas in your life where you've proven to yourself that you're capable. So I want you to reflect on those for validation. And they can be past, recent, or present wins, efforts, or patterns. That's for V for validate. Then the next step is A for align. The prompt is, what small aligned action can you take today that supports your future self? Choose one micro step that feels safe but stretching. So you want to stretch yourself a little bit, but you don't want to terrify yourself. But what small aligned action can you take when we say today, this evening, or by first thing tomorrow morning, that supports your future self? And do it. Make sure you do it, because it'll start shifting your neural pathways straight away. And the last one is trust. The prompt is, what can you trust about yourself or the process? Do an affirmation to anchor you. So something that you really relate to, that really resonates, that really sings to you. I've got an example here. By all means, you can use this example, but in some ways it's good to have your own words, because you'll resonate with it, and your nervous system will connect with it more. The affirmation I've got here is, discomfort is part of growth. I move with grace and embrace the process. So discomfort is part of growth. I move with grace and embrace the process. Oh, sorry, we've got one more. I forgot. Yes, and then there's the E. The last letter or heading is execute, and the prompt is, what will you do now or by the end of today? Define the next best step and commit to it. Action commitment. So just write down what that would be. And again, you don't necessarily have to do that right now. Got to give yourself enough time to process all of that. And when you start the process initially, with your when you're by yourself, just sit calmly, close your eyes, and just breathe, and do 4 breaths in, and hold for 4 breaths, and breathe 4 breaths out. Sorry, breathe 5 breaths out. So you breathe 4 breaths in, hold for the count of 4, and then 5 breaths out. And just allow the body to relax so you're nice and calm and centered, ready to do the process. Next slide, please, Carl. So from stuck to unstoppable, that's our aim. Procrastination equals protection. So you can stop beating yourself up about it, and you can be proactive in resolving it with the Elevate method. Awareness plus tools equals progression. Break free from resistance and step into dynamic momentum. Your next step creates your next level. Okay, that's it. And just the next slide, please, Carl. Thank you, everyone. Are you there, Carl?
Yes, no, thank you, Christine. That brings us to the end of the seminar. Thank you for that. I've just got a question in the chat around whether we can get that Elevate model in writing. I suggest to Christina, who has asked that question, to engage with Christine, so the presenter. Thank you, Christine. Her details are on screen, so her email is on screen, Christina, so you can email her, and hopefully Christine will then get back to you with that Elevate model spelled out, so at least you have that handy for you.
Yes. Yes, I know it was a little. It was, a little bit challenging to hear it for the first time. The way.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm happy to do that. That's fine.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. So, and there's also a 1-page handout as well, which Christine has kindly prepared, and that will be shared with those who have registered by email. And I'll be sending that email out after the session today. So just as a reminder, this session is being recorded. So if you have joined late, you can always watch the entire session on our YouTube channel later tonight and moving forward. And yeah, you can watch it at your pace and leisure, as Christine has mentioned. It's a great resource to have if you require it. So what we'll do now, Christine, is go into Q&A. And I guess just for the benefit of those that have joined a bit late, maybe, Christine, if you could just go through that Elevate model one more time, just explain those key points in that acronym. Because we had a couple of questions on that, and I guess that's probably one of the key parts of this presentation. So maybe it might be worthwhile.
Well, it is.
Yeah. So
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just run through it now for them. Okay. So we're looking at. Just give me a minute. I'll just go up so I don't miss anything for you guys. So it's E for envision, and the prompt is, what does your future self look like? What your future self is saying about your results, and what changes emotionally, financially, and energetically. Once you've made a decision to do whatever it is that you're procrastinating about, what do you envisage with that breathing process before you start? What comes up in your visualization with regard to that? And you would jot all of that down, all the details down. The next step is lift. So what belief, fear, or thought is dragging you down right now? Or what new thought can lift you? So you're limiting belief, whatever that might be, and you're lifting belief, whatever that might be. I must get it perfect was the example. And the lifting belief was progress over perfection, I'm learning. So immediately you can even get a sense of that. The motive application of that is your shoulders drop down immediately with that lifting belief. So it gives you a way forward. Then we've got embody for E. How would your future self walk, speak, breathe, and show up? So it's a little bit like the first step, but it's just going now deeper and seeing what the posture, tone, and energy is of your future self. Then validate what past, recent, or present wins, efforts, or patterns show you are already growing. Evidence that you are capable, and there will be. And it just doesn't matter how long ago it was, or currently, or whatever it is where you can give yourself a good pat on the back. There will be areas in your life, and it's really good to reflect on that and jot those down. And if there's more than one, by all means, do that. A for align. Prompt, what small aligned action can you take today that supports your future self? Choose one micro step that feels safe, but it stretches you. So it can be a small step. It doesn't have to be a big step. And terrify yourself. Then T for trust. What can you trust about yourself or the process? You want a positive affirmation, something affirming that will go into your nervous system and your brain and help you to feel confident and comfortable with yourself. And the example was, discomfort is part of growth. I move with grace and embrace the process. But again, just do what resonates with you, that's meaningful for you. And the last one is execute. Prompt, what will you do now or by the end of this evening? Oops, just lost it. Yeah, so that is everything. So you define the next best step and commit to it. So, yeah, I think that's everything, Carl.
Yeah, I think that's a great recap of the model. So hopefully those that have joined a bit late have heard that now. And yes, just to reiterate, if you do want to have that sent in an email to you, I guess, please do email Christine directly. Her details will be on a screen shortly again, and I will, you can just send her a note and she'll happily share that with you. So you've got that handy. Christine,
yes.
That's great. Christine, the next question that we've got, I think quite an important one from a topic perspective is, how easy is it for people to identify that they're procrastinating? Like, do they regularly think that they are, or is it just a mindset?
Sometimes people, it's a very good question, because some people don't know that they are. If it's been a pattern all their life, I just think that's how it is. And so they don't really get that really they could be making decisions about a number of things, but they make a lot of rationales that sound absolutely fine to them because they're used to it. Some of the telltale signs would be, I think we talked about them at some point here, just trying to have a look here and see if I can quickly find it. But it would indicate that if you're put things off and then you miss opportunities, that would be an indication. Well, why did you put it off? And you might say, well, I put it off because it wasn't the right time, or I was tired, or, I didn't think I had enough skill, or whatever it is. And it'll sound very logical to ourselves, but really that's a sign of procrastination. I don't know. Does that explain that question?
Yeah.
Is that?
Well,
yeah.
I think that's right. And then it links to a question that we've got that's come up, which is around reflection. How key is it to ensure that you're reflecting on your mind and the way that you approach tasks, like the ones that you've just described, to then be able to identify that you are procrastinating and maybe you should consider the model that you've shared? Like, how important is reflection as a part of I guess, mindfulness tool to help you deal with that type of situation?
Crucial. It's really the core bottom line of the tool.
I think it's
Because
often,
people, sorry?
you go.
Yeah. So procrastination is all in the head and all in the mind. So if we're a person that is, a person that can be very intelligent, and there's a time and place for that intelligence and to use our brain and our mind. And I'll just also say that our brain and mind are two different things. They're not the same. But that's a different seminar. But the thing is that you really got to come down, and that's why you do the breathing technique. You come down into your body and breathe and allow the senses of your body to start showing you where things go wrong and where you might be procrastinating. I mean, in reality, this tool is a great resource and people can use it for themselves. But if there's some deep-seated stuff or people struggle, that's where I would come into play, to be honest, where you would be facilitated to be able to dig really deeply if that was needed. But it's definitely not something you just do in your head. I mean, obviously, ideas and concepts and things will come into your mind while you're doing it, but it's an emotive experience because procrastination isn't logical; it's emotive because it's coming from a deeper place, and so that's where if people are really procrastinating for a lot, consistently, and it really is affecting them, they might need assistance, but you can revisit this resource over and over again, and you could get clearer and clearer and better at it as you do it.
No, that's very important, Christine. And, we spoke about how procrastination is a form of protective sort of response.
That's right.
When you're doing day-to-day things, whether it be at work, at home, outside on the road, or you're walking, or whatever it might be. Do you think, there's a question that we've got, Christine, I'm just trying to rephrase it as well. Do you think that the sense of protection is, somewhat linked to people being comfortable? And, we speak about how try to break free from resistance and step into the dynamic momentum. Have you faced situations with your clients, Christine, or with the work that you've done where it can eventually get tiring to be on that path where you're breaking free and you are trying to step into the dynamic momentum where you are being decisive, but sometimes you just want to take a step back and acknowledge that you maybe are procrastinating, but not to the point that you actually delay or inhibit or cause a situation where you missed that opportunity or didn't take it up. So I think the essence of the question is more around, is there a fine line between breaking free from resistance but then entering into a state where it gets tiring to be in that constant dynamic momentum state because you want that and you want that protection?
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're your own boss. So the key to what we're talking about this evening with procrastination, we're not sort of saying that, okay, you just stay in momentum for the rest of your life, no matter what. It's you'll be able to gauge what is appropriate at any given time. And that's about trusting yourself, which is what we talked about as well. So the idea is there'll be instances in your life where you will keep thinking and mulling over. That can be very tiring. And all those symptoms I talked about earlier, because I'm not sure if that person was here for the beginning, but we talked about symptoms, and they can be quite severe. And that can be very draining as well. And that can affect our sleep and all sorts of things. So the key is because part of procrastination, people are prone to it, there is a lack of trusting themselves because of the past trauma. So when we start to build momentum, fear will kick in a little bit because we're moving from one particular place to another. We're up-leveling ourselves, and that's unfamiliar territory. So that can feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar territory. But one of the things I say is that sometimes we're comfortable in our uncomfortable comfort zone, which what I mean is that things can be along reasonably well, but there is a yearning or there is a call inside you to want to do things differently, but through procrastination you're unable to be proactive in that instance. And so this is where you could process yourself to allow that to collapse so that you can see more clearly about where you want to go to the next level and up level. If people are just content in their life and they're happy with all their decisions and happy with everything, well, you know, I don't know many people like that, to be honest, but that might be because of the work I do. And, you know, I work with a lot of successful people and they're not unhappy, but they're not fulfilled and they don't necessarily have the meaning that they want in their life. And it doesn't mean they have to be famous or a multi-millionaire or anything like that. It doesn't have to be big, but there are certain things that resonate in their heart that they're not fulfilled through past experiences because they've been hurt or damaged or told they're not good at it or whatever. That stays stuck in the nervous system, and then they have trouble getting out of that, what we might call an uncomfortable comfort zone, to up level to a new elevation of elevating to another level in their life, whatever that might be. And that can be even in personal relationships, it can be with health, business, career, finances. All of those have their implications of procrastination. You know, we might want to make decisions around our finances or our health. I mean, a very obvious one is around nutrition and health and eating. And I don't like using the word diet, but that is one of the biggest procrastinating things that are very obvious in people's lives. And they know, oh, I need to go to bed earlier, and they don't, and things like this. So that's all part of it. It's quite intrinsic in our life. So we'll often look at the big picture or the big shifts in our life, but it's all those bricks, all those little things in our life that create the big thing. And sometimes we need to, you know, get enough sleep, eat properly, exercise, do research on finances and stuff, take those steps so that we're then well established and well grounded in making the decisions that we're not making. That was a long-winded answer, sorry.
No, but I think you've just really explained to those that are listening today and those that are listening in the future online that this can be applied in all parts of your life. It's not just in business or in your career.
Totally.
It's across personal relationships and just the way you operate, right? The way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you exercise, rest, play, work, have fun, all that sort of thing. So
everything. And of course, tonight I just chose one because within all of those categories, there's infinite amount of information in relation to that. So, yeah.
Christine, yes, no, that's beautiful. It's a question that we've got. There are actually a few, but I'm going to link them together. Individuals that face, you know, so just taking a step back, we'd be speaking about, you know, rooted in the conscious and unconscious fear, right? This is procrastination. Okay, and yes. The topic today for those that, and you know, there is an increase, you know, in recent years, anxiety, right? Who have that.
It's an epidemic, to be honest, without exaggerating. Yep.
Correct. Yep. No. What do you think is there a connection here between those that do experience anxiety and then because of that fear, you know, they don't want to step outside of that comfort zone, they're more likely to procrastinate, and then potentially their anxiety to change, which is then become more decisive through that process of breaking free, ends up becoming this vicious cycle and perpetuates. What steps do you have, Christine, for those that have joined the call today or in the future to sort of break out of that perpetuating cycle? If you get what I mean?
Well, it depends on the severity of it, but
Mm.
the Elevate method would definitely be a good place to start. But if there are symptoms of anxiety, sometimes you need, professional support to assist with that. It depends on the severity, because anxiety is varying degrees, right to panic attacks. And my observation personally, to be honest, when I'm out and about in the world, I think most people are experiencing some level of anxiety all the time, because we rush, rush, rush. We talk 100 miles an hour. We're this, that, and everything else. And, we go to the shop, they're rushing the money and everything's just in overdrive. That's all signs of anxiety. And that is a spectrum. But definitely, and I think I mentioned it, again, it might have been someone that wasn't here and what have you, but definitely procrastination creates anxiety. It heightens stress, it heightens the cortisol levels, which, when you've got heightened cortisol levels, affects far-reaching issues in your body, like lots of symptoms. It weakens your immune system, and then you don't sleep, so that would create anxiety. Then you're tired, you're fatigued, then you don't have clarity, you have the brain fog. That can create procrastination. And even with the anxiety, there is an increased risk of anxiety, and even then going further to depression, because we're not being proactive, we're not moving where we want to go, and we're a bit stuck with our lot in our life, and we don't seem to be able to make a decision or know or have the clarity about which direction to go. It drains your energy, and so it has far-reaching cognitive and psychophysical symptoms.
Mm. No, yeah, to those that have asked that question, I think, yes, I echo what Christina said before about maybe seeking support from a professional that can assist you
Yes.
with those, those situations.
Yes, definitely,
Mm,
with depending on the severity,
yeah,
Carl, for sure. Yeah.
yeah, no, very, very, very wise. And just a final question, Christine. Of course, this this seminar that we've gone through today, and the model that you demonstrated, right? I guess tailored towards anyone, Christine. So the question that's come up is,
I missed that, Carl. Could you just say that again? What's the
yeah.
question?
So yeah, that's okay. So what I was just, I think we've already cut up this for a bit. The person has asked the question about whether or not they could sort of explain this to their child. So their child is currently going through school, and they've noticed that they're procrastinating a bit. I think this model, correct me if I'm wrong, Christine, could equally apply to a youth as well, or
Totally. And I
yeah,
love that. I love that as a wonderful example. Again, we can't cover everything this evening, but that is
correct.
a perfect analogy,
Mm,
because there's a lot of pressure on kids to study and meet certain, marks and what have you. And that is and when they're lacking in self-confidence, or that, whatever's going on at school or whatever, they will fall into the trap of trying to avoid it because they're not confident about it. But if you can if that person who's inquired, you take them, and the younger you are, the better, because you're more susceptible to getting out of your head and into your sensory aspects of your being.
mm,
They will be like a duck to water, just something like that. And you could support them in that. And then you could even say, depending on the age and the situation, they can even go away and do it themselves, or you can support them with that for sure.
no,
And I think that's a wonderful example of where it would be very useful.
yeah, definitely. So to that individual that has asked, if you have registered by email, I'll be sending you a one-page handout. But if not, I'll just share Christine's details again on screen. Send her an email, and if you have any specific concerns, I'm sure Christine can support with that.
Yeah, for sure. Because,
So,
it is hard to cover everything in
of course,
a situation like this. Yep.
yeah. So the purpose of the seminar, of course, to those that have joined and those that look in the view this in the future online, is to sort of give you a bit of a taste as to what this topic is about, the model as well. And if you have further questions, then please feel free to further engage with Christine, and she can support you on that journey. All right, so that brings us to the end of the session today, and there are no further questions. Thank you to Christine. Her details are on screen. Today's session is being recorded, and I'll share the recording on our YouTube channel later tonight. There's also a one-page handout that Christine has prepared with some notes, so you'll have that handy with you as well. And to those that want to ask additional questions, feel free to email Christine directly, and I'm sure she'll be of assistance to you. So,
and they can also they can contact me through my website as well.
Perfect.
Because I just find sometimes emails disappear, they go in the junk mail or whatever. So if they want to contact me through contact on the website, that can be an option as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, explore the contact form as well. Yes, so Be Informed. I run and fund Be Informed myself. So if you have found this session interesting to you, please do share it with family and friends when you get the YouTube link. And also you can share the handout with family and friends as well, so you can help them on their journeys too. There's also a whole suite of past sessions available on our YouTube channel covering various topics. So if you find something interesting, you can immerse yourself in that topic and share with family and friends as you wish. So thank you all for joining today, and thank you to Christine, our presenter. It's a very important topic, I think, at this point in time as well. So great to have this shared with everyone. And I think that brings us to the end, Christine. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you all for attending. And we'll close the session now. Thank you all.
Well, thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Carl, for the opportunity. Good
My
night,
pleasure.
everyone. Enjoy your evening.
Yeah, take care, guys.